Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we'll continue from Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 10, texts 4 and 5. There are several qualities Krishna mentioned in texts 4 and 5, and we covered up to Satyam. We did not cover Satyam, how all these qualities come from Krishna and what actually these mean. So, Satyam, Prabhupada mentions that Satyam means obviously truthfulness, means that facts should be presented as they are for the benefit of others. Facts should not be misrepresented. According to social conventions, it is said that one can speak the truth only when it is palatable to others. But that is not truthfulness. The truth should be spoken in a straight and forward way so that others will understand actually what the facts are. If a man is a thief, and if people are warned that he is a thief, that is truth. Although sometimes the truth is unpalatable, one should not refrain from speaking it. Truthfulness demands that facts be presented as they are for the benefit of others. That is the definition of truth. So you see here, it is explained that even though it may be unpalatable, truth should not be distorted. Truth should be presented as it is. Like Bhagavad Gita, there is no sugar coated messages. It is clearly said, Dukkhalayam Ashashvatam, means this world is a place of misery and temporary. Death is as sure. I mean, they say it is as sure as death. That means death has to happen for everyone. There are these Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi. There are these three modes of material nature, three klesha. So all these truths are mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. One time we were distributing books. We knocked the door and they we explained about Bhagavad Gita. And suddenly that person went inside and came again and said, "Oh, actually, no, I'm not going to take it." Why? Because he said, "Oh, according to our custom, if we keep Bhagavad Gita, it is like keeping Kurukshetra at home. You know, the Bhagavad Gita was spoken on the battle of Kurukshetra. That means there will be war." So ultimately, he could not take that. But what I was thinking is, in the material world where there is no war, even if you don't want, there will always be disturbance, particularly in this Kali Yuga. Disturbance because of governance. Unfortunately, in many countries, there is no proper leadership and governance. There is utter chaos. There is disturbance amongst communities. There is disturbance within one's family, within one's body, one's mind. There is disturbance. There is always war happening. You cannot avoid what is due to you according to law of karma. How much ever you may try to cover it up by some means, you cannot avoid that. Whereas Bhagavad Gita is giving that knowledge, how you can avoid. The answer is that you cannot avoid while remaining in this material world. Of course, if you become Krishna conscious, God conscious, even if you remain in the material world, you can be transcendental. Just like, sometimes in the movies they show, oh, this man is running and somebody is chasing him and he is running towards a target and they are trying to ensure he doesn't reach the target. And this man reaches the target, they close the door, and he is saved. Basically, he runs into the embassy. He's in a foreign country, they are chasing him. And he runs into the embassy, and embassy is not accessible. So even if he is in the foreign country, if he can access his own embassy, the embassy of his own country, he is protected by that country. He's not, even though he is in the foreign land, he is still part of his own country. If he is in the embassy, they'll give protection. He's the citizen of that country. So likewise, even if we are in the material world, if we remain connected with God, Krishna, by dint of that connection, Krishna promises, Aham tvam sarvapapebhyo mokshayishyami. I will protect. Rakshishyati iti vishvaso. Rakhe Krishna mare Krishna rakhe ke. It is said that if Krishna decides to protect somebody, no one can kill him. And if Krishna decides to kill somebody, nobody can protect him. So while the truth may be unpalatable, the truth of this material world, or any truth, sometimes we desist from speaking the truth because that person may dislike us. Many spiritual people, they desist from speaking these truths of Bhagavad Gita because they may not get a lot of followers. Prabhupada himself was advised, Swamiji, why did you name this movement as International Society for Krishna Consciousness? It should, it'll be more appealing and you will get more people if you named it as International Society for God Consciousness. And Prabhupada stuck to his naming. He said, I don't want to please the masses and mislead them to think God can be anybody, anyone can be God. I want to specifically say Krishna is God. That is what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. That is what the Vedic scriptures say. That is what the sadhus are establishing. Ishvaraha paramaha Krishnaha Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam Mattaha Parataram Nanyat Kinchidasti Dhananjaya Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo Mattaha Sarvam Pravartate. All the acharyas have established. So I want to speak the truth. I want to not deviate from it. So this is called Satyam. So in our worldly dealings as well, of course, sometimes as part of our profession, we might be like a businessman. He may cover his profit. Oh, for you, I am making no profit, isn't it? If he is a businessman, that's part of allowed liberty as part of one's livelihood. But that's only when you are in that profession. If a Vaishya lives like a Brahmana, then he cannot earn his livelihood. Because for a Vaishya, it does not corrupt his mind. Whereas for a Brahmana, if he speaks untruth, it will corrupt his mind. So there are different considerations to understand. Of course, this does not mean one should live a life of lies, full lies. Only the certain degree, as far as their profession is allowed. One should one should speak in a way that they are not saying lies. Oh, for you, I am not making profit means much profit, like that. So that is Satyam. And then Damaha and Shamaha. Damaha means self control. The senses should not be used for unnecessary personal enjoyment. See the word unnecessary personal enjoyment. That means there is no prohibition against meeting the proper needs of the senses. The senses do need engagement and enjoyment. We need food to eat. We need the pleasure for various senses, but only as much as they are needed. Like, for example, you're eating. Say you like to eat sweet. So you already eaten sweet and it satisfied you. Now the tongue wants to eat more and more. Now, even according to material estimation, the the more you take after it met your demands, the graph goes like this: law of diminishing returns. The more you take, the lesser you will enjoy. It is more like the mind and the tongue wants to eat, but your body does not actually need. The mind eventually realizes, I did a mistake, and it repents. But because we lack self control, damaha, we fall into the trap. So there is no prohibition against meeting the proper needs of the senses, but unnecessary personal enjoyment, unnecessary sense enjoyment is detrimental for spiritual advancement. And similarly, shama. Dama means control of the senses. Shama means control of the mind. Mind should not be indulged in unnecessary thoughts. Calmness. And Prabhupada even writes this statement, nor should one spend one's time pondering over earning money. That is a misuse of the thinking power. Of course, the mind should be, if you are in a livelihood, you cannot help but engage in thinking how to earn money. But only that much. One's entire time should not be spent on how I can earn more and more money. That is a misuse of the thinking power. Rather, it is said, the mind should be used to understand the prime necessity of human beings. What is that? That is athato brahma jignasa. The power of thought should be developed in association with persons who are authorities in the scriptures, saintly persons, and spiritual masters, and those whose thinking is highly developed. So that means the mind should be engaged in the association. Mind should be allowed to develop proper thought process by associating with those who have developed proper thought process. Those who are authorities in the scriptures, saintly persons, and spiritual masters whose thinking is highly developed. So this is called damaha, control of the mind. And then sukham, sukham we know, pleasure or happiness, should always be in that which is favorable for the cultivation of the spiritual knowledge of Krishna consciousness. See, usually we take pleasure to be sensual pleasure. What pleases my senses, that I consider to be pleasure. And what displeases me, it is dukkham, displeasure or distress. But here it is said, pleasure or happiness should always be in that which is favorable for the cultivation of the spiritual knowledge of Krishna consciousness. That means we should always be seeking to engage in Krishna consciousness or taking up things which are favorable for Krishna consciousness and find pleasure in that. If we don't find pleasure in that, we will find pleasure in Maya. We will find pleasure in intoxication, sinful habits, mundane sensual things, because the mind always wants to seek pleasure. Anandamayo bhyasat. You go talk to anybody. Is anybody willingly trying to get distress? No. Everybody is trying to seek pleasure. So we have to seek pleasure. Of course, it is not artificially imposing ourselves. Krishna consciousness is not artificial imposition. It is actually within our hearts. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabhunaya Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte Karaye Udaya. Nitya Siddha means eternally in our hearts, Krishna Prema is there. But by a proper bona fide process, that becomes enlightened, awakened. So it is, Prabhupada says, it is like a pushing process. This sadhana bhakti. Just like you see sometimes this car gets stuck on the road, especially in India, we used to do. I don't know now what they're doing. So we get down and we keep pushing the car, push the car, and the driver is trying to put the gas pedal, and then suddenly it starts, and then it is ready to go, zoom, and then we get in and go. So like that, until we awaken our inner Krishna bhakti, Krishna prema, we may have to do certain things even mechanically as a matter of satisfying our vows. We took a vow, for example, to chant the holy name. You may not have completely discovered the taste of chanting the holy name, but because we took that vow, we have to keep pushing ourselves. But one day, because of the strength of the satisfying that vows, we will discover that liking, that awakening of our inner Krishna bhakti. So that is sukham. And dukkha means, Prabhupada says here, that which is painful or which causes distress is that which is unfavorable for the cultivation of Krishna consciousness. Anything favorable for the development of Krishna consciousness should be accepted, and anything unfavorable should be rejected. Anukulyasya sankalpaha pratikulyasya varjanam. Anukulya means which is favorable for the development of Krishna consciousness, it should be accepted. Pratikulya, varjanam, it should be given up. So you are visiting a temple and somebody called you for a service. Oh, it's a nice opportunity. Krishna is giving an opportunity. Let me do some service. Other things I always do, 24 hours every day. But today, Krishna is giving me this opportunity. This is favorable. It should be accepted. Favorable for the development of Krishna consciousness. And anything unfavorable should be rejected. So if you are having to go to a place because of your job where there is no scope for association of Krishna consciousness, you cannot visit temple, associate with devotees, hear about Krishna, read about Krishna. You're taking up a job which requires you to work so hard, even though it might be materially lucrative compared to your existing. Of course, you lost a job, that's a different thing. But if you have a something which by which you are associating with Krishna, but you are trying to replace with something which is unfavorable for Krishna consciousness, it should be rejected. Of course, I'm telling about the principles. One should discuss with senior devotees and understand from scripture what is favorable for me, what is unfavorable for me, and should decide accordingly. So this is Sukham Dukkham. And Bhavo Abhavaha. Bhava means birth. Birth, obviously, for a spirit soul, there is neither birth nor death. Najayate mriyate va kadachin. Krishna already said in 20th verse of second chapter. In several places, Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita, for the soul, there is neither birth nor death. One time I met an old man distributing books, and so I told him, this book, when you read, you'll become so enlightened. You will discover the problems, you will discover the solutions to all the problems of your life. So he said, so all my people who are close to me, they have died. And I am also going to die. When, I don't know. But I'm very anxious about it. I'm very nervous about it. I'm very lonely. I don't know what is going to happen to me after that. And then I told him, see, the reality is that everyone has to die. It's not necessary that one will become old and then die. Anybody can die at any moment. But that is not what I want to tell you to comfort you. What I want to tell you is that in this book it is said, we are spirit souls. We are not just bodies. The body may undergo death. The body may undergo distress because of losing loved ones. The body may give you so much pain, both mental and physical. But the spirit soul, there is no death nor birth for the spirit soul. And I showed him that picture. How Krishna says, Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yavanam jara. How the soul is passing through these different bodies. We had a baby's body, we had a child's body, we had a young man's body, and so on and so forth. And at the time of death, it passes on to another body. A sober person is not bewildered by that change. And so he asked, so what will happen to my soul? And so I told him, according to the consciousness at the time of death, the soul is given another suitable body based on what your consciousness is at the time of death. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram tam tamevaiti kaunteya sada tadbhava bhavitaha. So that is why we say you always keep yourself God conscious by thinking about God, by particularly chanting this mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So he was very happy to learn that. Whether he practiced or not, that's a different thing. At least, as soon as you hear something like this, you, of course, after that, the Maya will cover. But at that moment, you feel liberated. Oh, I'm not supposed to die. As a spirit soul, I don't have to undergo any of this. So the whole of Bhagavad Gita is how you can get the spirit soul not entangled by the miseries of this body and liberate it from this material world and go back to Godhead, from where there is no return to this material existence. This material existence is called bhava or birth. For the soul, there is no birth, but because the soul wants to enjoy matter, it appears that it is being born. It appears that it is dying. So this is called bhava, abhava, birth and death. That is only for this material body. And then Bhayam cha abhayam eva cha. Bhayam, we know, is fear. Prabhupada writes, fear is due to worrying about the future. A person in Krishna consciousness has no fear because by his activities, he is sure to go back to the spiritual sky, back home, back to Godhead. So there is nobody in this world who is not fearful. Everybody from the insect, from the ant, to that of the president of the country or the head of the world, whoever it may be. Even the devatas are fearful. The devatas we see in Bhagavatam, as much as we may hail the pleasures of the higher planets, but the people there are constantly worried that the demons are attacking. And many attacks happened, isn't it? The demons attack and even took over heavenly planets many times. And the devatas had to go into hiding. Bali Maharaj conquered everything. He was the head of the Asuras by dint of the service he has done to Sukracharya, his spiritual master. The spiritual master, he blessed him so much that he became so powerful that when he attacked Indra, Indra went to Bruhaspati and said what to do. Bruhaspati said, you cannot fight them. They are so powerful by the blessing of their guru. It's better you go into hiding. So they went into hiding. Just earlier, some time ago, they killed all these asuras, but Shukracharya brought them back with Mrita Sanjeevini mantra. And they served him so much. And then they came back. See how the duality of this world. One time you are victorious, the other time you are snubbed like nobody. So this, so of course after that, you know, the mother of the demigods, Aditi, she was so worried, and so it's a big story how she worshipped the Lord by the instruction of his husband, of her husband, and how Krishna came as Vamanadev and conquered Bali and got the kingdom back to the Devatas. So everybody is worrying, everybody is fearful of this material in this material world. So Prabhupada says here, a person in Krishna consciousness has no fear because by his activities he is sure to go back to spiritual sky, back home, back to Godhead. Therefore his future is very bright. Others, however, do not know what their future holds. They are in constant anxiety. If we want to get freed from anxiety, then the best course is to understand Krishna and be situated always in Krishna consciousness. So, this fearlessness, abhayam, is only possible for one in Krishna consciousness. So I'll stop here. The rest of the qualities in the fifth verse we'll look at tomorrow. Anyone has any questions or comments?
Yeah, Hare Krishna, just a small comment, Prabhu.
Yeah.
You made a comment about the car and we push the car, right?
Huh.
Unfortunately, Kali Yuga doesn't have manual cars, they have automatic cars. Difficult to push, Prabhu. So, you have to make extra effort to do all these things.
Yeah. That was just an example.
No, no, I understand, but
Yeah.
actually speaking, if you look at it, Kali Yuga had made the car such that even if you had a chance for a car to make it work by somehow, it's not possible. Then you have to go to garage and at home you could do that. But
Right.
now you have to go to a mechanic and get it fixed.
Yeah. Correct. Kali Yuga, the only thing that works is chanting the holy names.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, yes. Hare Krishna, yes.
Hare Krishna. Bhagavad Gita as it is ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande.